What? What was that all about? You go back and smack the other player's ball. It's not a walkthrough, playthrough, review, anything like that. It's just me playing the game badly so you can see what it looks like. Okay. This apparently is called Appare Gateball or Appare Gateball. I've got no idea. I'm probably not going to be able to play this, but I'm going to give it a go and see what happens. Oh my god. I don't know. Come on, just do stuff. Huh? I don't know. What? Oh god. What is this? Croquet? Is this going to be croquet? I've got no idea. It is, isn't it? Okay. Oh, it's croquet. I did not know that computer croquet was a thing, and I have no idea how to play croquet, much less Appare Gateball. What? I don't know. What is? Okay, we'll put in. So that's you. Yeah. Okay. So you set your person up where they're going to stand, and then you set where you're targeting your shot, and I want it to go through that gate and then something, so I can smack it off to the... That sounds wrong. Hit it over to the left. Oh dear. Oh bollocks. Okay, I'm getting it now. I'm not saying that's a good thing. Okay. Well, we're going to try that again. We'll try. I think I'm getting the gist of this. It's all about positioning your shot like after it's gone through the gate, and it's sort of like snooker really. It's where's it going to end up after you've... Ooh. Oh, give over. You div. Nah. What's he doing? What's he got there? What's he... Is that a chocolate bar? I want a chocolate bar. I really want a chocolate bar now. Oops. Yes! What? What are you saying? Do I want to put it there? I think I want it there. Get it in the middle, if you can. That'll do. Oh, I've got to smack it hard then. Oh, that's gonna... Ah. Bear with me. There we go. Sorry for the delay. I was talking to Jo on Facebook Messenger. She was asking me, how do I know if I've repeated a game when I'm recording a video? How do I not repeat them? And that's actually a good question. I go back and I look on my playlist and see, have I played this game already? Which is fine on things like the PC Engine, but if it's like the Amiga where I've done hundreds, it can be tricky. Oops, that maybe wasn't the ideal position, but whatever. Okay, you go there. It's it. Oh, you silly... Oh. No, I'm not going to be... I'm just going to shut up and hit the ball in a minute. This guy... I don't know. I don't know what I want to say about that guy. I'm thrilled at actually grasping the concept of Croquet, a game which I've never played, watched or had anything remotely to do with in my life. Oh, well that's going to miss, isn't it? Yeah. What was that? Did the guy in the hat say, that was shite? Yeah, he's saying that was shite. What? What was that all about? You go back and smack the other player's ball. Sometimes I don't hear what I'm saying until I've said it. You go back and smack the other player's balls. That's just... well, it's certainly not cricket. I don't think it's croquet either. It's pretty dodgy, I reckon. I'm sure I'm not... I don't know what I'm sure I'm not. Yay, I hit the ball and got it through a little hoop. Okay, let's put that through... I wonder, shall I put it through that one? Because everyone else is going up there. I'm going to be different. Put it down there. There. Perfect. That'll do. With your orange hat. Bollocks. Ah. He's got certain... I don't know. I keep going to say things and then I'm censoring myself. Not because I really particularly like censoring myself, but sometimes I catch myself saying something that is just not right. Like, I don't want to be... Oh, God. I don't mind being absurd, but I don't want to be offensive. I mean, some kinds of offensive, alright, you've got to be offending the right people. What am I doing? Ah, okay. Put it through there. Smack it. Reaction time is a factor in this, so please smack it quickly. Get off me ball, you bastard! The other player's smacking my balls. I don't know what's going on now. So all of my players who missed their shot are still taking their first shot. Because they suck. There is a lot of sucking going on. You can interpret that any way you like. You've got a sick mind. I'm talking about playing badly. I don't know what you're thinking about. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah. I'm going to stop now. As usual, I've forgotten what it's called. Read the title at the top of the page or something. I said it at the start of the game, but we're like... It's Japanese croquet, okay. Croquet, okay. I've got to stop. Thank you for watching. Right then, today's question for Q&A is from Chris James. Link to his channel down there. He asks, I've never asked a Q&A question before, but here's one for Q&A. Could you name your top 10 or top 5 if top 10 is too many, but I think top 10 would be better, Amiga games? Yeah, I can do top 10 and then some. So actually choosing a top 10 games, no, choosing 10 great games for the Amiga is easy. Actually picking a top 10 is not so easy. So I have picked 10. They are... The top 3 I found really easy. I knew the answer to that straight away. After that it gets more difficult. And then I've got a whole list of notable mentions. So Okay, what order am I going to go in? Alright, we'll go number 10. Alien Breed 3D2. This is not widely regarded as a classic Amiga game. It was fairly panned by the press at the time. The problem with it is it's a graphically and geometrically complex game that took a powerhouse of an Amiga to run anything like a playable frame rate, and not many people had an absolute powerhouse of an Amiga. So for most people it was just like, what's the point of this, it's unplayable. And they were right, except I have an 060 powered, or 68060 powered Amiga, which Commodore and Amiga Technologies and whoever else didn't make an Amiga that powerful. You couldn't buy one off the shelf, but I got an accelerator card with an 060. It cost an arm and a leg then. It would cost an arm and a leg to buy one now. You're better off buying one of those, what are those cards called? Vampire card. But then if you're going to run that, you might as well just run an emulator, because whatever. Anyway, it runs kind of adequate on my Amiga, and I came to really like it because it demonstrated the ability of the hardware, or at least it pushed the hardware in a way that not a lot of Amiga games did. I say the hardware, I mean my hardware. 060, games that took advantage of the 060 were few and far between, and even that, it wasn't, I don't think anything was optimised for the 060. Some games that really should have run well didn't, like TFX. Should have run well, didn't. Just probably runs better on an 030 and certainly an 040 if you got the patches for it. There's no 060 patch. Shame. Number 9. Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker. It's just plain fun. That's all I can say about it. If you got it on a, you don't need a mega powered Amiga to run it and get a smooth frame rate, but if you've got one that's just like a little bit above a 500, say a bog standard 1200, it's silky smooth. It's lovely, it's great, and of course you've got the balls with the faces and pulling faces and poking their tongue out and stuff like that. Just adds a little novelty value to it, and it is better with a mouse than it is. I mean, it's on the Mega Drive, but playing that game with a joypad is not as good as playing it with a mouse. The Amiga version is definitely the way to go. I love that game. It's just a really good way to play snooker on a retro machine. Back in the day there was nothing that touched it, and these days there probably are snooker sims that will beat it hands down, but I don't care. If I want to play a snooker game, I'll still go for Jimmy White's on the Amiga. Number 8. No Second Prize. Motorbike racing game, polygons, super mega smooth frame rate, mouse control. It's initially kind of tricky getting the hang of it because it's very, very responsive, but unlike say a joypad controlled game that's very responsive, it's not twitchy, it's just sensitive. So once you're used to that, you can control it really well. It's fast, it's very fast, it's a lot of fun. It's like, I love 3D, I love flat shaded polygons. So, and I like motorbikes. I haven't ridden one in years. I would probably kill myself. God knows I nearly killed myself enough times back in the like late 80s, mid to late 80s. I had mopeds, and biggest bike I had was a Yamaha RS125, which you know, it had a top speed of about 72 miles per hour. And then I had I didn't pass my test within the 2 years that you were permitted, so I was back on a 50cc, but I had a FS1E with like a racing fairing, racing seat. What were they called? These handlebars. They were like, oh, they had a name, I can't remember what they were. They were the
fashionable handlebars to have on a fizzy, as it was called, and it had a Micron exhaust, a big bore kit, open carburetor. It did 62 miles an hour and it accelerated like stink for a 50cc. It was fun and it was loud as hell, and I would wake up the villages in the middle of the night, riding home from my girlfriend's place at some stupid hour of the night. Yeah, that was a fun bike, but no second prize, motorbike, fast, good graphics, love it. Number 7, Stunt Car Racer, Jeff Crammond. I probably don't need to tell you what it is. Polygon graphics again, very, in fact, rudimentary polygon graphics, but good frame rate. I mean, adequate on an Amiga 500, excellent on a 1200. You put it on my 060 powered thing, and it's just like, yeah, it's great. It's just fun. That's all I need to say about it. You know, ride this car on a roller coaster of a racing circuit. Try not to break your car, which you invariably will. You'll either fall off the track or your car will just fall to bits because you've landed too hard too often. Love it. 6, Hunter. This was the first non-spaceship based open world sandbox game that I ever played. I mean, the first sandbox game I ever played was Elite, but you know, with a character in a open world setting in 3D with flat shaded polygons, with things like tanks and jeeps and boats. Fantastic. It was the Grand Theft Auto of its day. I mean, that's kind of overstating it, but the impression it made on me at the time, it was what I wanted. What it wasn't that I would have liked was first person. I wanted virtual reality, I wanted a virtual world, and I wanted it to be immersive, I wanted to be in it. And it being third person, I wasn't quite in it, but nevertheless, it was as near as I was going to get to that. I had it on my Amiga 600 and the frame rate was not great, and it wouldn't run on my 1200. I've got it now on my 1200 because it's patched. It's a WHD load thing and they patched it so it'll run on AGA machines, but back then I just had it on an original floppy disk. I've still got the box, the big box. I haven't got the instructions. When I moved from Milton Keynes to Worksop, I was kind of organised in how I did things. I had separated all of the instructions and all of the boxes. The boxes for all of my software was up in the loft, and the instructions were all in a bag because I needed the instructions for playing the games. I had all the floppy disks in a floppy disk container box thing. So when I came to move, I got the big bin bag full of boxes down out of the loft, but the bag full of instructions, I must have got it confused with the rubbish because it definitely didn't make it to Worksop. Yeah, but I still have the box for Hunter. I've only got a few boxes left now. I know where all of the other boxes are. And I haven't got them. They're in Andrea's loft. I think they're still there. I think I didn't throw them away. I think they stayed up in that loft. Won't be getting them back. Don't care. You know, some things you just have to let go of. She won't be going up in the loft. Okay, number 5. Cannon Fodder. Epic, awesome, fantastic game. I don't really need to say any more than that. It's just plain fun. You know, you've got your little team of men. It's all mouse control, which is novel. It's a unique way of playing a game, I think. You know, sort of point and click. action shooter with tiny little characters. It's unique. If they make other games like that that aren't just a straight copy of that, I mean, I know there is basically a straight copy of that on the Gizmondo. I can't remember what it's called, but I know I played one and it was kind of cool, but it wasn't cannon fodder. Yeah, I've played the hell out of it. I haven't played it in a well, no, I briefly played it on the Game Boy Color, I think, and was quite impressed with that. Was it on the Color or the Advance? I think it was on the Color. Anyway, Gloom Deluxe. I only got to play Deluxe as a retro game, I think. Back in the day, when I lived in Milton Keynes, getting hold of software was not easy. I would not do mail order. Didn't trust it. Didn't actually have a means of doing it for a long while. Didn't have a debit card or credit card or anything like that for a long while. So it's like to get games, it was either whatever was in my local game shop, Softly, or sometimes Electronics Boutique, or whatever it was before it was that. Can't remember. There was a shop I used to go to in Milton Keynes, and they had a reasonable selection. Sometimes there'd be something really that I really wanted, and I would actually travel all the way to London to get it. Deluxe Paint 5 AGA and Imagine 3D 4. I travelled to London to buy those, which seems like insane these days. You just go on Amazon. But did I travel to buy Gloom? I think I might have. Gloom Deluxe couldn't get anywhere. It was like nowhere local to me had it, and I didn't have a means of buying it mail order, and yeah, so it was only like as a retro thing downloaded, I think, much later that I got to play it. It is a superior version. Okay, number 3. Now we get into the no debate in my mind whatsoever what my top 3 are. It's just these, and it's always going to be these. Number 3, Pinball Fantasies. It's still my favourite pinball game. There are better pinball games, technically, graphically, physics, simulation, all of that. There are better games, but it's just my favourite because and just one table, the Partyland table. I love that table. I can play it. I love the music. I love the graphics. I love the physics. It's the perfect pinball game to my mind. Love it. I've never played any pinball game that is more fun. And so that is at number 3. And I mean, it's on other systems. You can play it on the PS3, you can play it on the PSP, and I do. SNES version's not great, really. You really got to go for something more advanced. God, I don't know what else it's on. It's on loads of things, but I like the Amiga version, AGA version. Did they do a non-AGA version? Not sure. Anyway, number 2, Knights of the Sky. Another flat-shaded polygon flight simulator. World War I biplanes. I like this game. It's my favourite flight simulator, and do you know why? Because it's slow. Biplanes fly slowly. Modern simulators and flight sims and things like that, they're fast. And if you're trying to shoot down another plane and you're in a jet fighter, you go charging up to your target if you can find it, and you maybe fire a missile at it, or you maybe fire your guns at it, but you know, it's like it's there, it's gone. You've either shot it down or you've overshot, and it's like a mile or 5 behind you, and then you've got to turn around and try again. That bores the crap out of me. I don't want to do that. I want a dogfight. where I can see the other plane and maybe keep it in front of me. And in a biplane, you can do that. You're flying slowly. You're probably barely doing 100 mile an hour. It's fun. And I honestly, I can't think of any other flight simulators that are that much fun, where you stand a chance in a dogfight. You don't need the reflexes of a whip it on speed or something, you know. I spent many hours on that game. I killed that many pilots as well. The list of pilots, I haven't got my original game save. That hard drive died, but I mean, I went through so many pilots. But then that's authentic, isn't it? Pilots in World War One, life expectancy was very short. Yeah. Okay, number 1. Anyone who's watched this channel for any number of, or period of time, number of years, I've been doing it long enough, God knows, will know what the answer to this one is. Hands up, come on. Who knows? I know loads of you do. Jeff Crammond's Formula 1 Grand Prix. Flat shaded polygons, racing. You need to have modded it with F1 GP Ed to alter the frame rate. You can get it up to 15 frames per second if you've got a fast enough CPU, and it won't bug out. If you try and go for 25 frames per second, it will bug out, and when you start moving, all of the cars just spin round. I don't know why it does that, it's stupid, but yeah. So 15 frames per second, and that sounds ridiculous, but it's actually, if you're used to playing Formula 1 on an Amiga 500, the frame rate's not good. These days it would be considered unplayable, but back then it was just fine. So that 15 frames per second when it's modded with F1 GP, and you can put in like modern car liveries and do all kinds of stuff, alter the performance of the other cars, whatever you like. It's just great, and I love playing it on the Monaco circuit. If ever I'm like tweaking it or testing it or just playing around with it, I go to the Monaco circuit. But I do that on any game that's got Monaco on it. Just, it's like it's a known quantity to my mind anyway. You know that I know that circuit layout like the back of my hand. I know what it's meant to look like, and I know if it's gonna look good or bad or whatever based on how the Monaco circuit looks. And I played it to death back in the day, and me and 2 friends, I've told this story countless times, we'd have a game night once a week, and they'd come round, and you know there's that feature in the game where you take turns to drive, and while someone else is driving, the computer controls your car. Invariably it controls it badly, or it does if you've gone for a setup like I sometimes did. I would go for some really wild setups that meant I could go really fast, but the computer didn't know what to do with it, so it went really slow, which was kind of annoying. It's like being in an endurance race and you're teamed up with James May. It's not what you need. But yeah, that was, I can't remember what night it was we used to do that, but it was fun. In case you're wondering what that noise is, that's me tapping the table. That's I don't know why I'm doing that. Yeah, brilliant game. Never ever stopped being my favourite Amiga game. So, other notable mentions. I won't specifically talk about the game so much. Well, actually, I'm going to tell you what this first one is. Scorched Tanks. It was a public domain game. It's Artillery Duel, which I think is like an ancient game. There's a version of it on the Atari 2600, I think. Scorched Tanks is like a souped up version of Artillery Duel with different weapons and stuff. And there were many different versions of it. It's like they kept tweaking it and changing it and altering it. And eventually they broke it. It's like later versions weren't as good as earlier versions, and I don't know why. I don't know why they did that, and I haven't got the specific version that I really, really like. In fact, I don't think I've got it at all anymore, which is a shame. Awesome game. Others, these won't really need any introduction. Lotus Turbos 1 and 2. PGA Tour Golf, the first one. It's not the best technically, but it's the one I played the hell out of. Atari Star Wars Arcade. It's that game. It's a conversion by Domark. It's really good. Mouse controls perfectly adequate. Very good version of the game, and probably as good as you were going to get on the Amiga. And you could play it on MAME. MAME on the Amiga was a thing after a time, and played it. I don't know, kind of a toss-up between playing it on MAME and playing the Domark version, really. The Domark one was a bit easier. Super Skid Marks AGA. Whoever thought of calling a game Skid Marks? Genius. Epic. That's kind of a controversial one. A lot of people say that game is shite. I liked it, but I could never get past that proton cannon thing. I mean, ripped straight out of Empire Strikes Back. Couldn't get past it. Star Glider 2. Really, I didn't know what I was meant to be doing in it, but while I was faffing around, flying into things and generally dying, I was having a great time. Because it looked awesome. It still does. Vroom. Kind of falls somewhere between an arcade racer and Formula 1 Grand Prix. It's like polygons, but more arcadey. Sprites in there as well, certainly on your car. Fun. Fast. Kind of simplistic, but I like it. Buggy Boy. Yeah. For ages I thought arcade perfect, and then I played an arcade version. It's like, no, it's not arcade perfect. For ages I thought gotta be superior to the Commodore 64 version, but actually I now prefer the Commodore 64 version, which is shocking because I'm not a fan of the Commodore 64. But there you go. They're kind of like different games. But I still like the Amiga Buggy Boy. It was the second game I ever saw on an Amiga, actually. And the funny thing was, the friend who showed it to me, he'd been raving about how great the Amiga was, and then he showed me this, and I was like, "What's all the fuss about?" It didn't blow me away at the time. Graphically, I was expecting something more fancy, and it's graphically not that fancy, but it's the gameplay that's fun. Walker, yeah. Walker is just, you know, you're in a big Ed 209 thing, you've got little tiny enemies and you stamp all over them and shoot them with chain guns. Great! What's not to like? Desert Strike. EA, back when EA were good and made fun games and weren't some big evil corporation. I like that game. And Populous. I'm not a massive fan of like strategy games. I'm not a massive fan of God games and all that. But Populous was fun up until the computer had knights. Didn't mind if I had knights, but as soon as the computer had knights, that was it. I couldn't beat it. They just went romping all over the place and killed all my people, and I couldn't beat it. But still, loved it. Played it a lot back then. I haven't played it in years. Mainly because I've forgotten what all the icons mean, and I can't be bothered to look them up because there are so many great games to play that I can't be bothered to search for instructions to play a game that I know is going to I'm going to hit a brick wall. So yeah, I haven't played that in a while. That is my top 10 and then some Amiga games. There are countless others that I rate very highly, but we could go on for ages, and really if you want to know what I think about a lot of Amiga games, have a look at my Amiga playlist. In fact, I'm going to put one at the end of this video. I'll put a link to my Amiga playlist in that end screen thing. There'll be a link around here somewhere. Watch that. This back here is Tornado AGA. I travelled, it comes back to that thing where I used to travel a long way to buy a game. I travelled from Milton Keynes to Bedford by bus to buy this game. I had a, what the hell, it was a Viper. It was a Viper 28 megahertz 030 accelerator card, which I thought that'll do fine. That'll run this game because it needed an accelerator. And the guy in the shop was like, oh, you won't be able to play this on your Amiga 500. I was like, I haven't got an Amiga 500. He was like, what, you got a 1200? You still won't be able to play this. You need an accelerator. I was like, I've got an accelerator. And it's like he had never encountered anyone with an even slightly souped up Amiga. God knows if I'd have gone in there about a year later and told him, actually I've got a 68060, so get stuff, give me that game. But it's like he didn't want to sell it to me. But I got it home and I put it on, you know, loaded it up, and it ran about as well as this is running now. This is running on a Raspberry Pi, and it's pretty much actually, this is like a 28 megahertz 020 simulated, emulated, whatever. It ran about like that, which, while it's nice to be running in demo mode, in terms of playability it was rubbish. And it's a complex game, and you had to learn all the controls, and I couldn't be bothered in the end. Looks a lot better when running on my 060 powered Amiga, but that's not what I've got turned on at the minute. Probably should have, but there you go. Yeah, about all I've got to say on the subject really. So if you've got any questions you would like to ask in a video, or like to have answered in a video like this, ask a question in the comments below. Begin with for Q&A, so that I know not to just answer in the comments. And do check out the Amiga playlist that's going to come up in a minute. Thank you. Don't go away. Watch more.
What do you mean, subscribe to his Patreon? I already paid for breakfast. What more does he want? What? Oh, seemed he wasn't invited. Oh, I suppose I could eat his as well.